Good morning. Pastor Steve from the Hitchcock United Methodist Church. I'm glad you are taking a little time to share some thoughts with me this morning. We're in Holy Week, and it's kind of a big deal, really. It's the week that leads up to Christ's crucifixion and death. And I think it's important for us to kind of take a look at some of the things that happened during that week. Yesterday in our our Sunday service, we read an account of Christ's last few days, actually from Maundy, Thursday, and his Passover sharing with his disciples to his betrayal and trial and crucifixion and death. But there were other things that went on. And I just want to share a few of those with you this next few days. In Mark's Gospel, which we were reading for the entrance into Jerusalem yesterday, we have an account starting in verse 12, and it reads through to, we'll just go through verse 18 in chapter 11 of Mark. As Jesus, on Monday, after he had entered the city, spent some time in Jerusalem. It says, the next day, as they were leaving Bethany, Jesus was hungry. Seeing in the distance a fig tree in leaf, he went to find out if it had any fruit. When he reached it, he found nothing but leaves, because it was not the season for figs. He said to the tree, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again," and his disciples heard him say it. On reaching Jerusalem, Jesus entered the temple courts and began driving out those who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves, and would not allow anyone to carry merchandise through the temple courts. And as he taught them, he said, "Is it not written, 'My house will be called a house of prayer for all nations'? But you have made it into a den of robbers." The chief priests and the teachers of the law heard this and began looking for a way to kill him, because they feared him, because the whole crowd was amazed at his teachings. You know that the passage of Jesus in the temple has always kind of caught my attention. As I was growing up, I was taught that Jesus was meek and sort of passive. You know, the story about turn the other cheek. If someone strikes you, turn the other cheek. If they take your cloak, give them also your shirt. I mean, just sort of giving in to everything. And yet here we see Jesus coming into the temple and seeing money changers and people selling animals for sacrifice. And he kind of loses it. In one account, it says that he made a whip out of cords and drove the animals out and drove the merchants out. He was angry, full of righteous anger. It's sort of interesting that the week that ends with his death, one of the most passive acts, seemingly, begins with this show of anger. And as I have studied the scriptures over the years, I found many places where Jesus shows maybe not that kind of anger, but he shows anger. And almost always, it's shown at those who are either trying to reinvent the religion that was God's religion, or to pervert it. Here the money changers are in changing money because you can't give an offering unless it's in the proper coinage, and you can't give an animal unless it's perfect. And they had perfect animals. He was upset. Not at merchandise, not at people selling things, but at people cheating, at people taking advantage of a situation. You know, lately we've had people taking advantage of many situations. I'm not going to go into everything like that because we could be here all day. Hoarding sanitizer, hoarding toilet paper, hoarding this, hoarding that. And I think Jesus would be upset with that. Because we're to care for other people. We're to care for our fellow human beings. We're not to make it hard for them to come to Jesus, to come to God. And that's part of what was happening with the money changers and those that were selling the animals. They were making it more difficult to get close to God and making a profit on it in the meantime. Nothing wrong with profits, nothing wrong with selling and buying. I'm not saying that, nor would Jesus. But when we do it to take advantage, when we do it to mistreat people, it's not right. So as we begin this Holy Week, the days when Jesus spends some time in Jerusalem, and the leaders, as it said in that last verse, look for a way to kill him. They'd had enough, and they didn't like what he was doing. But oddly enough, most of the people did. We religious leaders have to be awfully careful that we're not standing in the way of others finding Christ. Think about your friends, your neighbors, call them, send them a text message, drop a postcard, let them know you care. And we'll look again tomorrow at one of the other events that took place during the last week of Christ's life. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow.